Okay, so this will be part 2 of our notes on solving systems of linear equations by graphing. Yesterday we learned about how to do it with graphing and how to find our points. Today we're going to talk about graphing a little bit, and then I'm going to show you a much easier way to do it. They gave us an example here. The problem with this example is, remember we said that you have to be in y equals mx plus b form. That equation is, this equation says y plus 4x equals -1, which means that is not the way we need it. So I'm going to go down here because here it said write the second equation in y equals mx plus b form. So we're going to go down here and we're going to fix it. Okay. Remember, I have my equal sign here. In order to get y by itself on this side of the equation, I'm going to have to move this 4x. And remember what we've said all year, opposite side means opposite sign. So if I'm taking it to this side, I have to subtract. Okay? When we're done with that, it takes this away, and it leaves me with y equals. Now what I have to decide on this side is what I want first. And if we are talking mx plus b, then we are going to have to put our x first and our b second. So let's go -4x minus 1. Okay, I'm going to write that up here so that I have these together and I know that we have to change it into mx plus b in order to be able to solve it. Okay? All right. They have already graphed it for you. They have even given you the point right here and told us that it hits at -2.7. So I'm going to write that here because I feel like there's a bunch of writing here and it might get a little bit confusing. We're going to test it and see if it works. This is x, this is y. Remember that we said when we do this, we have to go back to one of the original equations. So I can't use this one. It's not one of my original. I have to pick this one or this one. And just for fun, let's pick the second one, the one that we changed. Let's say y plus 4x equals -1. When I fill in for y, I'm going to fill in with a 7 plus 4 times, I have a -2 here, equals -1. If I throw 7 plus 4 times -2 in my calculator, you will see that it gives me -1 equals -1 on that side. Okay, so that's how we check it. Now, I want to talk to you real quick about graphing. When we graph this, they have already given us both of these equations the way we need them. And we know how to graph a line. We've already done that. So I'm going to look at this first equation, and I'm going to say my y-intercept is 1. So I'm going to move up to 1, and I'm going to put a point. Okay? For this first one, my slope is 1 over 1. Remember, that's rise over run. We're going to rise 1, go right 1, because they're both positives. So rise 1, right 1. Now, I need to draw a pretty straight line for a system of equations. So I'm just going to keep going. Rise 1, right 1. Rise 1, right 1, rise 1, right 1. And that way, when I draw this line, I can make it pretty straight through those points. Okay, now I'm going to look at this equation. My y-intercept is 5, so I'm going to go up here to 5, and I'm going to put a point. My slope is -1, so I've got a -1 over 1. Remember, the negative only has to go with one of the numbers. I'm putting it with the top number, which means from here we're going to go down 1, right 1. Okay? So I'm going to go down 1, right 1, and I'm going to put a point here. And you can even draw it if you want. Down 1, right 1, put a point here. Down 1, right 1, put a point here. Do you see how I did that? I drew it every time. Down 1, right 1, put a point here. Okay? Then we're going to draw a line through it. Now this line should actually go through this point right here, but I've warned y'all that I'm not really good at staying straight. So this point crossed with both of them, So I've got 1, 2, up, 1, 2, 3. So my point here is 2, 3. And if I go check that, I'm going to take the first equation, and I'm going to say y equals x plus 1. I'm going to fill in 3 for y equals 2 plus 1. Over here, I don't have to do anything. It's just 3 equals. And then 2 plus 1 equals 3. So that checks out. Now, I want to show you how to put it in the calculator. So I'm going to skip the part where we turn these into equations. And I'm just going to do that for you. You can practice it and you can make sure that you come up with the same thing. But if I change this, I end up with y equals negative 3x plus 1. And if I change this one, I end up with y equals 2x plus 6. Now I can graph this all day long. Or I can put it under y equals. Okay? So I'm going to take my calculator. Let me make sure it's clear. Okay. I'm going to take my calculator. And I'm going to, and I hope you can see this because the light's hitting it kind of funny. I'm going to hit this y equals button right here. And now I have a bunch of y's. I have y1, y2, y3. We're only going to use 1 and 2. And for y1, we're going to put in what we figured out here. Negative 3x plus 1. So negative 3x plus 1. And then we're going to go down to y2. And we're going to put in 2x plus 6. We are going to, again, hit the graph button. We've done this before, so we're going to hit the graph button. We're going to see where it crosses. Okay, and now we're going to hit a different button. And we're going to say second, and we're going to hit this word right here that says trace. And I'm going to go down. If you see at number 5, it says intersect, and that's what we're looking for. We're looking for the intersection. So I'm going to go down to 5. I'm going to hit enter. Now I have to keep hitting enter. This says first curve. I don't want that. That one says second curve. I don't want that. That says guess. I don't want that. And you notice that says intersection. And it tells me that my intersection at x is negative 1 and at y is 4. So I'm going to write that down. Negative 1 and 4. Okay? Now what I want to do is I want to go back and make sure. Oops, let me put this where you can see it. Sorry, I forget I'm working with a video. I want to make sure that these work. So I'm going back to original equations, and I'm going to pick y minus 6 equals 2x. And I'm going to fill in. Y is 4 minus 6 equals 2 times my x is negative 1. Okay? Let's work both sides of those equations. If I say 4 minus 6, that gives me a negative 2. 2 times negative 1 gives me a negative 2. Those two check out. So we put it in the calculator correctly, and that means we solved these correctly, so we did good. If you have any questions about this or if you need practice using the calculator, come see me during tutoring.